fly fishing changes every day, more so now than ever before in fly fishing. New terms, new gadgets, new techniques, and the Virtual Fly Fishing Academy, really what we try to do is keep up on all that. And recently, within the last, probably 5 to 10 years, a new term, especially here in Idaho and Montana, in these big rivers that we have, these big tailwater rivers, we have a term that we call, it's called working the progression. What is working the progression? Well, that's what I'm here to tell you about today. I get questions a lot like this. I'm on a river, Mike, and I see fish rising. I know they're taking a blue-winged olive, Mike, and I know they're eating it subsurface, so I know they may be eating the emerger of, aspect of the dry fly. The problem is, Mike, I don't really understand or know what fly I should use first, or what fly to go to. That's more of a guy who's been fly fishing for a few years. Now, for you folks that have been fly fishing a long time, you have already seen that happen to your own experiences in fly fishing, and you have experience that you can go back on. The last time I saw this in the blue-winged olive hatch, this is the fly that I caught him on, and you have a jump start. But the new angler doesn't. So what that new angler and what the skilled angler and what I have to do in a hatch is we have to work the progression. We know they're taking a blue-winged olive. We know it because we did our research. We know at 1:30 every day there's going to be a blue-winged olive hatch, and at 1:30 we see fish rising to the blue-winged olive hatch. At this point, we have to work the progression. So let's define what working the progression is. Working the progression is just a fancy fly fishing term for trial and error. You got to start somewhere. And much like I always metaphorically compare it to a football guy. If I'm a professional football player and I'm in a stadium of 80,000 people and it's the fourth quarter and we're down by 2 points and I got the ball and I'm on the 50-yard line, I got time for a few more plays, but it's 3rd and long. Everybody in the stadium knows that I have to pass. Every coach on the defensive team knows that I got to throw a pass. My coaches know I got to throw a pass. So they send in a pass play, and I got a pass play. Well, that pass play, I've got 5 wide receivers. Each wide receiver has a number. It's designed to go to number 1. When the play starts, I'm going to pass, but I first have to go to number 1. He's covered, I go to number 2. He's covered, I go to number 3. He's covered, I go to number 4. Number 4 is wide open. I passed him, we score a touchdown. That's called working the progression. And in fly fishing, we do the same thing. We have to start somewhere, and these fish are feeding. So we know 3 things for sure. This is 300 years old, 400 years old. When we see fish rising, we know there's a trout right there, and it just ate an aquatic insect. Number 2, we have to figure out what that aquatic insect is, and number 3, we have to give it to them. Done correctly, you're going to catch fish. So we see fish rising, we know they're feeding on blue-winged olives. Step 2 is we have to figure it out what it is they're using. So we have to start with a fly of your choice. Now, here's where the working the progression comes in. When I cast that fly to that fish, how many times am I going to cast that fly to that fish or to all the other fish that may be rising, and no fish is going to eat that? I mean, you can do that all day? No, you have to work the progression. At some point, you have to say to yourself, what those trout are eating and what I'm giving to them are totally different things. So it's time to go to option number 2 and try that. And option number 3, well, that didn't work, so option number 4. Okay, number 4, this is probably what they want. You put it out there, the fish smack it, and you start catching fish all the time. So that's called working the progression, and we do it in all our great tailwater rivers. All great anglers do it, and you have to start doing it too. So what that basically means is if you're going to go hunting for a deer, and you have your deer gun and you got a bag full of ammunition. Well, when it's time to load that bullet and you open that ammunition up and there's everything in there. There's 22, there's 30-06, there's shotgun, there's 410. There's so many shells in there, you're digging around looking for that. It's the same thing in fly fishing. You can't have blue-winged olives in 8 different boxes. You have to separate all your blue-winged olives, certainly your emergers, into one location where you can work the progression. You got to have all your blue winged olives in a spot where you can view them and make that choice. That's common amongst great anglers. And if you're not doing it, okay, at least it gives you an idea on where you should be going in the wintertime when there's nothing to do but work on your flies. And so what this video will show is we're going to show you some options on some different flies to use, but typically what most anglers are using today is a magnetic clear box, and where it shows all your blue winged olives. And we're going to show you some examples of that. So if you haven't heard of working the progression, this video is for you. If you've heard of working the progression and you haven't really changed over in your organizational flies, this is something you should probably do. Remember, only two things catch fish: your ability to use the fly rod and the fly. So your success or your failure on a river, especially when you're casting to rising fish, can be totally and completely attributed to your lack of use of the fly rod or your choice of the fly.